Hey everyone, I'm Nick, and welcome to Learning Rust, the series where we learn the Rust programming language together. So in this episode of the series, we're going to go over control flow, so the basics of how do we conditionally execute code in Rust. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll go to control flow, and we'll open up our main.rs file. So in this example, what we'll look at is we'll create a variable called test, and we'll just initialize it to 6. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to test it, right? We're going to test, 6 modulo some number is equal to 0, basically checking if the remainder is equal to 0. And that will tell us if it's divisible or not. So in order to do these tests and chain them all together, we can use the if and the else keywords, basically saying if some condition, and then if that condition is true, we execute the code inside, otherwise we don't execute. So very similar to most other programming languages with if and else keywords. So, what are the differences and what are the similarities to other programming languages? So most programming languages have ifs, have the if keyword or else keyword. It's a little bit different than, it's more like C++ and C than Python because Python has a dedicated elif keyword, but we only have, if and else, just like C or C++. Now, what is different though is that we don't need parentheses around this Boolean expression. Right. Another thing is this has to return a Boolean here, right? So unlike C or C++, or rather in C or C++, this could be, say an integer, right? So we could say in C++, if A or if B, right? We don't need to have a Boolean there. We could say, if A is an integer, we could just say if A. But in this case, if we did something like test modulo 4, right, we see that it says, mismatch types expected bool found integer, right? And if I did cargo build, we'd see the same thing. It says, expected a bool found an integer, right? So, in Rust, we need to make sure that these checks all return a Boolean or these expressions. So, what we'll do here is we'll just print out if it's divisible by 4, 3, or 2, or not divisible by any of those numbers here in this catch-all else at the very end. So, the other thing we can do is because if is an expression fundamentally, we can use it to initialize something. So we can set some number equal to the result of an if expression. So here what we're doing is we're saying, if condition, right? Here we just have a variable called condition. We're setting it equal to true. We're just saying if condition 5, otherwise 6. So this is like a function call, right? So if we think of this expression as a function call, what we're really doing is saying, if some condition, this expression will return 5, otherwise it'll return 6, right? And so just like a return from a function, we leave this without a semicolon. We still need a semicolon at the very end because it's the end of a let statement, right? So, fundamentally this, we could put this all in the same line, right? If you want to think about it logically in terms of expressions. So if I go ahead and move everything here, it would look more like this, right? So basically, if some condition, right, we're going to set number to 5, otherwise we'll set it equal to 6, end of expression. And then we'll go ahead and print out that number. So let's go ahead and see how this works. Right, we'll go ahead and do, let's go ahead and clear the screen. We'll do cargo build -- release, or we could just directly do run, and that will go ahead and build it and run it. So you see that test is divisible by 3, so our number was 6, so it should have been divisible by 3. And then the value of number is 5. And that should have happened because we're setting the condition equal to true, so it should set to the first value here. All right, so that's the basics of control flow and Rust, right? So using these if and else keywords and showing how they can be the right side of this let statement, right? So when we have the let number equal to, it can be equal to an if expression or these conditional expressions right here. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. As always, all this code can be found at github.com/coffeebeforearch. So if you want to go ahead and learn along with me, you can feel free to download Learning Rust, or go ahead and clone this repository. And we looked at control flow today. So under source main.rs, you can find all this code. Like I said, it's going to do it for today. As always, I'm Nick, and I hope you have a nice day.